Chair Kunish, Senator Rarick, members of the committee. My name is Quentin Moore. I serve as the Vice President of Development for Ascension Catholic Academy. Ascension Catholic Academy is a consortium of 4 private Catholic schools serving our urban core in Minneapolis and St. Paul. We serve over 700 scholars annually, pre-K through 8th grade. The schools consist of Ascension Catholic School in North Minneapolis, John Paul II over in Northeast Minneapolis, St. Peter Claver in the Rondo neighborhood here in St. Paul, and then also St. Paschal Regional Catholic School, which is on the east side of St. Paul. Personally, I sit here as a product of Catholic education. I grew up in North Minneapolis, attended Ascension Catholic School. I had 2 younger siblings, Emerald and Lavina, who also attended Ascension Catholic School. We matriculated to De La Salle High School. I became the first of my family to graduate from the University of St. Thomas. My sister, she graduated from St. Kate's. My brother, he was a little smarter, took on a lot less debt, became a welder, and now is a facilities manager in River Falls, Wisconsin. I understand Minnesota stands at a crossroads in education. The proposed elimination of the non-public pupil aid and transportation aid will have far-reaching consequences. We've heard that. Not just for private school families, but for the broader goal of improving academic outcomes across our state. As someone whose life trajectory was truly changed for the better because of Catholic education, I believe we must approach this issue not as a public versus private debate, but as a question of educational freedom, fiscal responsibility, and ultimately scholar success and excellence. As I mentioned, I serve as the Vice President of Ascension Catholic Academy, and I see the intersection of public, private, corporate, philanthropic funding coming together to ensure brighter futures for scholars and families at our 4 schools. ACA serves a very diverse student population. Our scholars are overwhelmingly scholars of color at 96%. 68% qualify for free or reduced meals. 45% identify as Catholic, and 17% identify as English language learners. In light of all this, our scholars continue to outperform their neighborhood peers with similar demographics and standardized testing, and nearly 3/4 of our scholars maintain a consistent attendance exceeding local averages. Since ACA's founding in 2016, nearly 100% of our scholars have matriculated from one of our elementary schools, and they've graduated high school in 4 years. If you understand the impact of that, specifically when you look at the demographics we serve, you know how significant that is. Our anchor school, Ascension Catholic School, has served North Minneapolis for over 127 years and has proven success in supporting families in North Minneapolis, offering a rigorous faith-based education that opened pathways to prosperity. We are not simply looking to maintain, but to empower excellence for our scholars, and this non-public pupil aid is a vital part of that effort. And let me be clear, this is not a handout. This is truly an investment in scholar success. Understanding the support that our 4 schools as a system receive in this non-public pupil aid, we would need to raise an additional $1 million to $1.5 million annually to make up for these proposed cuts. As an organization where no dollar collects dust and 90% of our operating budget is funded by philanthropic support, this would have a devastating impact on our organization, our scholars, families, and staff. I sit here before you believing that education is about ensuring every child has access to the tools they need to succeed, regardless of whether their family chooses a public, charter, or non-public school. Education is a public good for all families, and I think we can agree upon that. The parents and caregivers who send their children to non-public schools are also taxpayers. They contribute to public education while also making personal and financial sacrifices to secure the best fit for their children's needs. This aid in question does not fund private school tuition. It provides essential resources like we've heard about today: transportation, nursing, counseling, textbooks, learning materials, things that enable our scholars to learn, to increase their well-being, and to get to and from school safely. Cutting this aid does not save money in the long term. It merely makes it harder for working-class families and under-resourced communities to exercise their right to choose the best education for their children. There's sometimes a misconception that non-public schools are a burden to public funds. In reality, non-public schools save taxpayers millions of dollars each year, educating scholars at a fraction of the cost of public schools. We heard earlier, Minnesota spends about $18,000 per pupil in public education, while Catholic and other non-private schools educate with far less resources. This vital aid for transportation, nursing, counseling, instructional materials is cost-effective to benefiting all of Minnesota. Eliminating it would likely force many families back into an overburdened public school system while increasing the pressure on teachers, staff, and administration at non-public schools to fundraise when they should be focusing on the care, nurturing, and education of our young people. Non-public schools are part of the solution to Minnesota's education crisis. We all know that Minnesota has some of the worst disparities for Black and brown scholars when it comes to achievement. And despite increased funding, dedicated and loving educators, public schools have struggled to close those gaps. Catholic and non-public schools have a proven track record of success in educating historically underserved scholars. Instead of removing resources from families who are seeking alternatives, the state should be embracing a broader approach to education reform, one that includes all models of learning that work. The question should not be whether non-public schools deserve this support, but rather, how can we use tools to our disposal to improve education outcomes for all scholars? Some may argue that these public dollars should stay in public schools, but when we talk about true equity, that means ensuring that all families, regardless of income, have access to a high-quality education. Eliminating transportation aid specifically, as we've heard, will disproportionately impact lower-income families who may find themselves unable to send their children to school. Not because of academics, but just because they can't get to and from. Education policy should not be about limiting choices. It should be about expanding access. Instead of cutting this critical aid, we should be having conversations on how to ensure transparency, accountability, while still empowering families to make the best decision for their children. For me personally, this is not an either-or issue. We can support public schools while also recognizing the role that non-public education plays in providing opportunities for thousands of Minnesota families. This should not be a zero-sum game either. Families choosing non-public schools for many reasons, faith, culture, academic rigor, or just better fit for their child's learning needs. Stripping away these basic forms of aid that provide transportation, nursing, textbooks, learning materials, it doesn't strengthen our state. It doesn't strengthen the state of our education. It weakens the ecosystem of options that allow scholars to thrive. So let's not take this public aid away. Let's not take tools away from parents. Let's work together to build an education system that truly works for everyone. I urge you to oppose these cuts. Stand with our non-public school families who are simply asking for the ability to choose what's best for their children. That's what this is about. Let's make Minnesota great for everyone. God bless you all, and thank you for your time today.